Originally I had the idea to do a video about speedrunning one of my favourite games, Mario Odyssey, in the any percent category within a week. But then I searched it up and someone else had the same idea. So then I gave up and probably watched the dumbest videos possible.
Tell me this!
But then an idea struck me. I'll do the exact same thing. At the time of recording I had 115 hours poured into the game and my skills were decent. I'd watched a few any percent speedruns but they were before I had even bought the game, back in 2018. So I optimistically jumped into the game with little to no knowledge on what I was doing. So for day one, I watched the route for any percent and decided which tricks I would and would not be able to pull off. Cause some of these are just impossible. I mean, there's a better chance Nintendo will listen to their fans than me pulling that one off. I listed down the main tricks that would be difficult, but still within my skill range. Then I set off to practice them. A big chunk of Dino Skip is whether your left foot lands on the trampoline or not. It's not a requirement to land on the platform. You can still bonk on the ledge and you'll make the skip. This skip includes 2 moons, but one is on the way to the main attraction that is called Jaxie Skip. This is quite a tight jump that requires a precise wall jump, followed by a hat throw, then a dive. This jump would be a lot easier if you're allowed to bounce off Cappy, but it's a rule in this game that after leaving any capture, you can't bounce off Cappy. Originally I had this as a major skip, but look at this is baby level skips. But the next skip in Lake Kingdom is finally a worthy opponent. In the first couple of days, I struggled at this skip. Both lining up the cheap and pulling off the button inputs were proving to be a challenge. But after getting it once, I knew exactly what I was doing right and what I was doing wrong. Klepto Skip is one of the most important skips in the game. I'm just gonna set it up on the tree. So I think it's... Okay, or we could just phase through the tree. Seeing that you have to triple jump off a tree, you don't have much room to work with. Most of the challenge comes from actually performing the triple jump, because once performed you can either land on the higher ledge or the lower ledge depending on how good your triple jump was. Unfortunately, this skip is long from over. You have to make a scary jump over the poison and collect some moons on your way to this section, where you must step on this platform to activate Klepto. This will prevent him from stealing Cappy when you collect the final 2 moons. Then to finish off the world, you have to face the physical representation of anxiety. I hate this jump so much. Okay. Wall skip, as I like to call it, is definitely one of the hardest major skips in the game. You have to be really precise with your jump. Why can't I cap jump, huh? The reason this doesn't work is because the second you slide against the wall, you lose your ability to cappy bounce until you touch the ground again. The skip is still not over, as this is merely part 1 of 3. The next jump is just as precise, but failing will only cost a couple of seconds, as there is a platform below. Now the final jump of this skip is very simple, but failing it will result in death, so just don't fail. Oh, that's it. Welcome to the Room of Suffering. The actual skip that's in focus here is the no-look jump from the top of the room, but just getting to the top is a challenge in itself, possibly even harder than the skip. Oh, do you want to explain yourself, Nintendo? The skip itself is annoying, as the camera must be turned mid-jump, as well as needing a perfectly timed jump. I may have got a hang of the jump eventually, but you'll see me descend into madness after having to do this room like 1,000,000 times. What the hell, game? Oh my god, it's getting worse! What? I'm getting AIDS from that. That's right, coughing is a symptom of AIDS. Way too easy. Give me an actual challenge. Now that I think about it, the Snow Kingdom's actually just filled with easy skips. Nothing here is really worth my time. Shh, you saw nothing. F***ing hell, how do I do that? I actually have no idea how you're meant to do this moon, but this way is fine. This was around the time where I started to notice spinning on the wall gives you more height. This is an integral strat, as more jumps will start to become easier. As you can see, Mario was all decked out for his mission on the moon. Now, of course, the hardest skip in the game has to be the final skip, and you can't do a speedrun without moon skip. Well, you could, but it would suck, and that's not what we're about here. Now, this jump will take a lot of time to master, but you can get it done consistently. You just have to practice a lot. Firstly, you'll need to perform a ground pound jump on the Sphinx head, then cap bounce onto the L-shaped part of the first wall. Then head to the adjacent wall. I still have no idea what spot you need to hit on this wall, but if your jump was high enough on the owl, you'll always get the second wall jump. So that's day 1 done. Let's go. On day 1, I left out the bosses, because I see them as their own type of challenge. Despite everyone saying this game is easy, I've always struggled with the bosses, so then I watched how to complete the bosses as fast as possible, and my last 2 brain cells tried to piece together what I had just witnessed. Then it came to practicing the bosses. This took a little bit of time, but surprisingly, I actually got better at it a lot faster than I thought I would. The only bosses I really had trouble with were Madame Brood, Long Boy, Bowser, Dragon Boy, Topper Hat Boy, Mecha Boodle, and Gay Bowser. Madame Brood isn't actually that difficult, but for a first time speedrunner, I was quite proud when I pulled the trick off for the first time. It's also important to note you have to collect some coins here in order to purchase a moon in the Wooded Kingdom. Long Boy is a fight I never looked forward to, but I'm not gonna lie, the speedrun strat actually makes this fight a lot easier. It baffles me how easily you're able to break the fundamentals of this boss fight. First of all, you can just jump onto his head from the second the boss fight starts. Performing the main chunk of this skip is actually quite easy. I just wasn't sure how to do it correctly, but now that I know, there's just no way I'm gonna die on Long Boy in the future. That would be silly. Cloud Bowser is essentially just practice for the final boss of the game, and oh boy, I need that practice. There are 2 ways that you can do this skip quickly. I chose the beginner's way, and I still struggle with that one. So hold it, and then go to Bowser. Excuse me, Bowser! So all you need to do is hit the hat, hold it with Cappy, then let go when you're close to Bowser. Sounds pretty simple, but in execution, I suck at this. For one, hitting the hat and dodging the fakes is just challenging enough as it is, but timing the release of Cappy is really difficult. Missing boss cycles is quite damaging, as you can lose anywhere up to 10 seconds. I'm not looking forward to this one in the actual run. Dragon Boy is probably the boss I struggled with the most on my first playthrough. This skip makes him a tiny bit easier, but you still have to dodge the rings and pull off the pegs. To do the skip, you have to perform a triple jump onto his head. Then you can use your invincibility frames to stay up there. Then you immediately unhook the pegs. Then to finish him off, ground pound the head. If you're able to do this successfully 3 times, you should have given Dragon Boy some brain damage. Bowser's Kingdom has 2 of the hardest fights in the game. And before I get to the obvious one, let me tell you about how much I hate Topper Hat Boy. I genuinely see Topper Hat Boy as one of the hardest of all the Broodals. To do this the speedrun way, you're supposed to jump on his hat immediately, but apparently I'm not gamer enough to do that, so I gotta deal with this. Also, apparently I just suck at everything about this boss. Here it is, the hardest boss in the game. By itself, this boss isn't too hard, but add in the extra incentive to go as fast as possible, and you've got yourself one hell of a boss. There are multiple ways to start this fight, but I chose the easiest of the 3, as this is the only one I could do consistently. Getting the first hit isn't the hardest part, but after that, you have to quickly rush back to the body so you can poke into the side. As the Mecha Boodle blasts you away, just hop out of the pokey and dive back on. Just keep in mind, this is the easiest part of the strat. You'll want to head for Green Boy, wait for it to stop, and ground pound him. As soon as you get launched off, focus your camera and spam hat throw. Then you'll do a normal hat dive and try and get as close to the top as possible. Don't worry if you miss, because you'll get launched back and have one more try. Now landing on the Mecha Boodle should be easier as he starts to walk towards you. The work is not over though. You'll have to wait for the boss animations, then wait for it to step 5 times until you ground pound Long Boy, then rinse and repeat the process to get back on. Keep in mind that the last jump is the hardest part of Mecha Boodle. It's so tight to nail this jump, and it requires a lot of practice. Even with a bunch of tries, I only just made it here. And with that, the hardest boss of the game is complete. I can totally see Mecha Boodle as kind of a make or break segment, as failing it will cost so much time. It all leads up to this moment, the final battle against Gay Bowser. As I mentioned before, Cloud Bowser is pretty much the same as Gay Bowser, but this is a bit trickier. First of all, there are more hats. This seems to be a theme with me. The more hats, the more struggle. Bowser also has another phase after getting hit. It's actually very lenient. Oh, I swear I got hit there, but I didn't. I guess he also has fire waves, but they only occur if you mess up the strat. You'll also have to remember the amount of times he spins his tail on each cycle, as getting this wrong will waste a bunch of time. I also did the final platforming section, as I wasn't sure if it counted as part of the boss. Okay, game. Bowser just said, no, I don't give consent. This section is pretty linear though. It only has a few time saves here and there. Also, 2D skip is something I'm never gonna back down from. So get used to the anxiety associated with this skip. Day 2, we out. Day 3 marks the day I record the entire route, and honestly, I was feeling pretty confident as I was already doing a lot better than I thought I would. The main point of the practice run was to pinpoint specific moments I struggle with the most, which could be anything as stupid as ground pounding a spot on the ground. Overall, the recording took 1 hour, 40 minutes, and 45 seconds. Seeing that this was a practice run, I'm not going to count this as my first time, as the timer wasn't even brought out for this one. After reviewing the footage, there were a few moments I needed practice on. I thought I was good with Topper Hat Boy, but now I'm thinking the first time was just a fluke. I think this is a good point to mention that I've been dealing with Joy-Con drift throughout the whole run. A lot of moments are made so much harder with this, including this jump right here. To be fair, wall skip is a very tight jump, so I kind of expected to have trouble with it. I thought that spinning on the wall would be the answer to getting this done more efficiently, but after failing this countless times, the answer was just not to spin, and I'm still confused as to why. I just want to mention, this is probably one of the only times I've done this room perfectly. Don't get used to this though, as I'll go back to losing my mind in the actual speedruns. I cannot stress to you enough how much I hate this fight. The atmosphere perfectly sums up my mood towards this boss. I'll admit it, I need to work on my optimization for this boss, but Nintendo really needs to work on getting rid of their reliance on motion controls, cause this fight is just stupid. You ever wonder why this boss only has 2 cycles? Cause if they added a 3rd, it would legally be counted as torture. I can't believe this is something I genuinely have to work on. This room is the purest example of how bad my consistency is. Like when I start messing up, the floodgates open and I'll try my best to make a mess of the situation. Like seriously, how did I go so wrong? The Seaside Kingdom as a whole is just a hot mess. From the second I stepped out of the Odyssey, I instantly forgot the route. Then after completing everything, I was still missing one moon, and I had to look up the route for the second time. Even with all the advice I've heard about this skip, it's still one of the hardest skips to pull off. Luckily, it's very easy to access this skip, so I can practice before day 4. I also want to say, my entire routing for Luncheon Kingdom is very sloppy. I know the cans are tempting, but I really need to focus on optimizing this. For Topper Hat Boy, surviving is my main goal. As for doing it fast, it's definitely something I need to worry about, but not quite yet. I definitely need practice on this one, but holy cow, I did it in 1 turn. I was genuinely sweating when it came up to the final hit. Biggest fluke I've ever seen in my life. Is that good enough? That does not look good enough. Let me up. Oh. Where am I? Why am I here? Oh my god! I did it first try! I'm glad I practiced this, as I feel it's slowly getting easier. Also, at the end, I just freaking sent it, dude. No regrets. There's a lot of practice for Gay Bowser, but it feels like I'm not improving at all. This fight embodies how bad I am at bosses in this game. I still have hope that I'll get better at this over time. Aside from the bosses and major skips, I need to work on my overall movement. I also need to focus on my consistency, which will only come over time. At least, I hope it will. I mean, I've poured 120 hours into Mario Maker 2, and I'm just as good as anyone who picks up the game today. After those decent results, it's time to bring on day 4. Day 4 marks the first official speedrun. I was gonna implement a timer, but I couldn't get live split to work. But as a MacBook owner, I'm used to it. However, I did use a timer on my phone, so I'll be able to put up screenshots whenever needed. Here's the main highlights of my first run. That's what I've learned. That is gonna save so much time. Please make it. That's enough. Oh my god, that was just barely enough. I'm not actually sure what you do if you miss the bird. I love it. I'm gonna have to go up here and get this one instead. It's a bit of a time loss, but it's really not that bad. Honestly, not that bad. Imagine saying, yeah, I f***ed up the nut in the planted tower. Oh my god! No. Joy-Con drift makes this speedrun so much harder than it needs to be. We got it.
You must die.
My favorite section. Oh, I don't even know how I did that so flawlessly. The speedrun strats have been acquired. No. I hate you and I want to kill all your children. Did I die a bunch? Where are all my coins? This is not looking good at all. What happened to all my coins? You know what? F the coins. I have to get a moon here. Ooh, baby, we got it. No! So you're supposed to hit him twice and then that can happen. You see how close I was? The most infuriating— No! What is that? From here. It's because I didn't get the flag. What? I'm going to die? We only got it on the last attempt. That was so bad. What am I doing? I'm throwing right now. We're good. My finger is sweating right now. Oh my god, I made that. Why can't I get her? That makes me happy that I got that first shot. Oh, look how early that was. No, you mother— I knew it, dude. Please make it this time. Yes, dude. What? No, I didn't get hit there. That's a joke. I wouldn't be a speedrunner if I didn't do 2D skip. How did I miss that one? That's the most embarrassing thing. Let's go! Our first speedrun complete. I've gotten a time of 1 hour, 28 minutes, and 37 seconds. For a first run, I thought this time was very good. After a shaky start, I was feeling like the run would be worse than the practice one, but most of the major skips and bosses were pulled off reasonably quick. In the end, it was a great first run. It wasn't completely ruined, and there's plenty of time for improvement. So according to the record boards at speedrun.com, I placed 1773rd at the time of recording. Keeping in mind that Mario Odyssey any percent category is one of the tightest leaderboards, with the difference between 2000th and 1000th being 17 minutes. My main goal is to beat Easy Spreezy's time. Not that I have anything against him, it'll just make my video objectively better. I couldn't find his time on speedrun.com, but in his original video, the time was 1 hour, 21 minutes, and 55 seconds. Essentially, I just have to shave off 7 minutes. By the way, I'm only really doing this so I can have a goal for the video. The first speedrun set the foundations and would allow me to understand how well I was going in each kingdom. On this run, I decided not to commentate over the gameplay, so I could focus more on the speedrun. Also, I changed the language to Japanese, which is an 11-second time save. Hopefully I can remember all the dialogue options off by heart. Now, I don't want this video to be 40 minutes long, so I'm gonna breeze over the main events of this run. This was a good start to the run, with Topper Hat Boy being done optimally. By this time in the challenge, I had developed a surefire way to do Dino Skip. This allowed me to have an overall consistent Cascade Kingdom. I missed the Jaxie Skip, not once, not twice, but 3 times. All the major tricks in Lake Kingdom were pulled off, and I was on track for a perfect time, but that all went down the drain when this happened. A lot of struggling occurred in the first half of Wooded Kingdom, especially with this jump. But after that, I had some really good movement and probably gained back some time. But that all came crashing down after a death right before the boss. Fortunately, I got the checkpoint flag as a safety precaution. I messed up one cycle, but that was it. My best Bowser fight so far. Joy-Con drift made this already infuriating trick even more difficult. Klepto skip took 48 seconds to pull off. So here, I thought I could do a no-look jump, but that resulted in a very unfortunate death, which led to another 30 seconds of setting up Klepto skip, followed by 2 very stupid bonks, and a lot of other things to add to the suffering. And just as things couldn't get any worse, this happened. In summary, Lost Kingdom was a massive collection of my worst moments. By this point in the run, I dropped behind the time of my first speedrun. I got wall skip first try, and was even able to pull off this jump. The Room of Suffering really achieved its name today. I could not get this jump done, and failed over 8 times. Thankfully, I was able to get the last jump in 1 try. Mecha Caterpillar was done to perfection. I don't want to talk about it. Can't believe we're into day 5 and I still don't know the route for Snow Kingdom. Wall skip was pulled off in 1 turn. An unfortunate accident in the fork room left me for dead. Then to make matters worse, this happened. Very stupid death here. Actually, make that 2 very stupid deaths. I surprised myself by actually doing this the speedrun way. I was able to do the first scary jump of Mecha Brutal, and then only just make the final jump. Moonskip was kinda slow, amounting up to 1 minute and 19 seconds. Gay Bowser was done to absolute perfection. And that finished the run with a time of 1 hour, 29 minutes, and 45 seconds. This was quite a disappointing end to a run that had a lot of potential. Seeing that I accidentally forgot to take screenshots of the timer, I'm not entirely sure how well I did in certain kingdoms, but what I'm sure of is that the sum of my best kingdoms was lower than my PB, meaning there's still so much potential for me to improve my time in day 6. With the disappointment that was day 5, I knew I had to improve my time today. But not only was I fighting against the clock, but I was also fighting against my Joy-Cons, as the Joy-Con drifts seemed to be getting worse. Nevertheless, I was certain I could beat my time if I just remained consistent. From the get-go, I was feeling good, and that was reinforced by my fast Topper Hat Boy. Although I was ever so slightly behind my time, I felt like I was playing well. This Dino Skip was probably the clutchest thing I've ever done. I had my fastest Madame Brood fight. Although Cascade had a lot of sloppy moments, I was in front of my PB. Failing Jaxie Skip really messed up my rhythm. So much so that I failed it again. Even with those 2 deaths, it was my best time in Sand Kingdom. Once again, I was on track for a perfect Lake Kingdom, and Longboy got in the way again. But it really wasn't that bad, as I was well in front of my time. Wooded Kingdom was much faster than last time, as there were no signs of struggle up until this stupid jump. Now this is kinda hilarious, but I accidentally got a frame perfect dive that allows you to break the nut without bonking. Joy-Con drift almost made me mess up this fight, but we good. I was getting really good at optimizing this fight. Okay, so right here, I was trying to hit the white hat, but the purple one just sacrificed itself. Would have been perfect otherwise. Klepto skip took 2 attempts. Everything was just working this time round. Even this one I really didn't deserve. A lot was riding on this jump, and thankfully, I pulled through. I managed to pull off wall skip in just 1 go. I decided to take the Room of Suffering just a little bit slower this time, as I didn't want to lose my mind. So much for that strategy. This is a prime example of why motion controls must perish. Day 6 and I'm still making navigation oopsies, but somehow this was still my best Metro Kingdom. Considering in my best run I couldn't afford the moon in the shop, this run was infinitely better as I was just able to afford one. By this time in the run, I was miles in front of my PB. Not much to say about Seaside Kingdom except I performed pretty well. Being almost 5 minutes in front of my time, everything was going really well, but of course I had to almost die. But at least I didn't die because that would have wasted a bunch of time. Okay, but Cappy actually just left me for dead. I genuinely don't know what was going through my head when I did this trick. Probably nothing. The fact that I didn't just turn the camera to see what I could land on is beyond me. After this quick rant, I promise I'll stop talking about it. But Joy-Con drift needs to delete itself. Although this was a very disastrous launching kingdom, it didn't kill the run. Ruin Kingdom good. that is all. I was so scared about diving on the last hit. Seeing that I was around 3 minutes in front of my time, Mecha Brutal probably wasn't a make or break situation. But in the moment, it sure as hell felt like it was. I was super focused and was able to pull off the first scary jump with no problems at all. Then I performed possibly my cleanest final jump, finishing Bowser's Kingdom on a new record pace. I'd been practicing moon skip quite a lot, but I was still very iffy on the skip. That was evident by how it took me 1 minute and 14 seconds. Considering how good my last Bowser fight was, I really needed something along the lines of that. With the exception of the very start, this fight was perfect and could not come at a better time. The only thing standing in the way of me and getting a new record would be like a death, but that's probably not going to happen. I don't know why I did that, just to subvert expectations, I guess. Hitting the last pillar was kinda slow, but nothing could stop me from getting my new best time of 1 hour, 24 minutes and 15 seconds. This was an amazing PB as it slashed 4 minutes and 22 seconds off my previous time. I was still above my goal of 1 hour, 21 minutes and 55 seconds, meaning I needed to subtract 2 minutes and 20 seconds off my time. This was a big ask as the sum of my best times was only just below that. Originally, I was gonna do another speedrun today, but I ran into some storage issues and it eventually got too late. But little did you know that was my plan all along. I just wanted to build suspense for the final day. At this point, the main time saves I could make were the following. Seeing that it was the final day, the pressure was really on, so once again I didn't commentate. So for the last time, here are the highlights of my final run. Not a single error was made, but Topper Hat Boy did feel a little bit slower than last time, meaning my movement must have been flawless to get a time this good. I thought I had a solid strat for Dino Skip, but the setup was quite slow. Madame Brood was definitely my fastest yet. Resultantly, I got a new PB. Sand Kingdom was going fine, until I bonked here, and then had a bad time getting up here. Don't worry, this has happened before. I just cut it out to save embarrassment. I managed to get Jaxie Skip on my first shot, and just by doing that, I was already miles in front of my time. A failed triple jump resulted in this disappointment. But the rest of Lake Kingdom was spotless. Wooded Kingdom started off really shaky, as I messed up both the Bunny and Rock Moon, which are usually very simple. Then I bonked on the waterfall. Now in this section, I got stuck on the roof of this room, which in turn caused me to miss a cycle. Absolutely nothing was going well for me, and this theme just continued the whole way through the Wooded Kingdom. It was so bad that it caused me to fall behind my record pace. Besides from the slow start, Cloud Bowser was done perfectly. This is the first time that I've got the fast setup for Klepto Skip. That little twirl almost cost me the skip. In previous runs, I feel like most of my muck-ups occurred in the Lost Kingdom. Thankfully, I'd learnt from my mistakes and was able to do this with no errors. It took a bit of time setting up wall skip, but that was so I could pull it off first shot. I then proceeded to waste even more time by falling off the pillar twice. I freaking did the Room of Suffering in one attempt. And the cherry on top is that I did Mecha Caterpillar in 2 cycles. The rest of Metro Kingdom was done fine, which resulted in me getting my record pace well back on track. Still a new PB though. I knew I wasn't making this jump, but the bonk still hurts. There were so many small errors in Seaside Kingdom, which made me lose about 20 seconds. It took 4 attempts to get wall skip, then I messed up a cycle of the boss, which almost resulted in death. This time, I actually used my camera to see what I was landing on. It's sad how much time I saved by doing that. I've died here many times before, but thankfully, I took my time with this one and got good results. Luncheon Kingdom was my savior. At this point, I was on track to achieve my goal. Now usually, there's not much to say about Ruined Kingdom.
And of course, today will be no exception.
Bowser's Kingdom is the final platform in Gauntlet, and I was doing pretty well, up until I died at this frickin' place again. Girlboy was done so much faster than last time, and as for Topper Hat Boy, I managed to do it the speedrun way. I knew I was on record pace here, and the pressure got to me as I almost died on my way to Mecha Brutal. But if you thought the pressure was on before Mecha Brutal, I don't even want to tell you how much my hands were sweating during Mecha Brutal. It definitely wasn't a make or break for a new record, but I wasn't sure if failing would stop me from getting below my goal. I thought I would fail the first scary jump, as I barely made it near the top, but just take a look at what happens. Without a doubt, that is the clutchest thing I've done throughout this whole video. It all comes down to the final jump. I did it, and I was ready to celebrate, but a part that really shouldn't be a problem became a problem for me. Fortunately, I got it second time round. Now there was just one more kingdom to go, and I was on a new record pace. Unfortunately, RuneSkip just wasn't working for me. It took 1 minute and 30 seconds to pull off. Then, the time came. For the very last time, I needed to say,
So long, Bowser!
first cycle done, second cycle done, third cycle... What the actual hell, Bowser? And here we have it, the final platforming section. Even with the immense amount of anxiety, I was able to pull off the triple jump skip and 2D skip. Now here's the final moments. So with that, my journey ended. In the end, I got a time of 1 hour, 20 minutes, and 42 seconds, smashing any previous time I thought I would get. I was very proud of this time, as achieving it in a week was quite impressive. After submitting my time to speedrun.com, I managed to come 1426th, which sounds very unimpressive, but in a way, it actually is. Doing this challenge really puts into perspective how much practice you actually need to get in the top 100 or even the top 500. As at the beginning, it was very easy to get massive time saves and improve extremely quickly. But with most things in life, such as running, there will be a certain threshold you hit where you've gotten so good at something that you're only making tiny improvements. And I think it's fair to say that I didn't hit that threshold, as I only did it for a week. This really just makes me appreciate how much unrecognized effort speedrunners put into what they do. But honestly, if you're thinking of getting into speedrunning, this game is very satisfying to improve at, and I could not recommend it enough. If you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate you to like and subscribe. I really enjoyed making this, and I'll definitely make more content like this in the future. And if you made it this far, I love you.